This baseball season, catch every game at Long Neck Sports Grill. There are 3 locations in northern Kentucky, Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood, each one of them very easy to get to. Each one of them has 4K TVs all over the place, and the sound will be on. Plus, no place in northern Kentucky has better wings, and there's also no more extensive beer selection than the one you'll find at Long Neck's. Long Neck Sports Grill, and by the way, when the weather gets warm, there's nothing like Long Neck's patio. Long Neck Sports Grill, stay late. Come often. I thought what we would do today is reach out to another one of the experts at OrthoCincy to talk specifically about Nick, who is dealing with that groin strain. The great thing about OrthoCincy is they have specialists and locations all throughout the tri-state. They also offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care during the week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can learn more, OrthoCincy.com. You never need an appointment. Go to OrthoCincy.com, OrthoCincy.com. Dr. Angel Velazquez from OrthoCincy is with us, always kind enough to lend his expertise. Nick Lodolo specifically. So we're dealing with a groin strain here, a left groin strain. What are the range of possibilities we could be talking about here? And are there different grades of groin strains?
Well, when you're talking about groin strain, the question is a generalized diagnosis, right? So in the groin, there's different things that can be happening. Obviously, when I hear groin strain, I'm interpreting that he does have an adductor tendon or muscle tendon injury. That is the area of the inside of your side. So when he's a left-handed pitcher, he's pushing off the mount, and he got that pull over the inside of the thigh, really close to your groin, private part area, and that can be a strain. If it is that, the main issue, you're talking about, like we have talked before, about muscle tendon injury, and it's depending, how bad or how extensive is that injury. There's grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. If it's a muscle injury, the same thing, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 versus tendon injury, but the tendons take a little bit longer. Sounds like it's precautionary because he looks like he felt in his bullpen session before the appearance, but didn't bother him enough, and he was able to pitch through the game. So, it could be like when you have a calf injury, you are able to do things, but it's still aggravated, and that's probably why they call it precautionary. Obviously, they will get MRI to see the degree of the extension of the injury. But that's what I'm looking at interpreting for what they say.
Do injuries like this, if they're at their most severe, ever require surgery? Is that something we should even be thinking about long term?
A complete tendon tear that is off the bone, that will be a grade 3. Obviously, that's something that you look at it as a possibility, like complete hamstring tendon injury. But a lot of the time, it is not complete, and they are mostly grade 1, grade 2, and they will reattach together, and they will heal together. And, that's when you ask your question, what can you do to try to make this to heal quicker? So then you talk about, PRP injections and, other modalities to promote healing process into the area, but everything is depending where the injury. My experience with this, when I have done it for the team years ago, any injury that is a grade 2 or even more, we require that doesn't require surgery. We talk about doing those type of injections to augmentate the healing process and cut down around 25% of the length that we normally look or we expect. So yeah, there's surgery for some type of injury, depending if there's a retraction, that means pulling off the bone completely. But a lot of the times they're not, and that's why you don't see too many people with a hamstring injury get surgery, or with an adductor or adductor tendon muscle injury to get surgery.
So walk me through what the most likely course of treatment is going to be for Nick specifically, and maybe when we can expect to see him back on the mound.
Well, when you have somebody who has an injury like this, and it's a grade 1 strain, there's no tearing, right? Just a pull, or even if it's a muscle grade 1 liter tear on it, or grade 2 liter tear, number one, you're going to get the inflammation down, right? So you start with, anti-inflammatory steroid pills to try to get that inflammation down. You start working with the modalities, with the physical therapists and the athletic trainers, at the ballpark. And I start working with exercises to start putting a stress into the tendon, the muscle, to make it heal appropriately. And obviously working other muscle groups, because those other muscle groups will compensate and will need to be strong for the stress of throwing. So sometimes misbalance of those muscles will put stress because there's fatigue. So I think right now he's getting the inflammation down, giving the next week probably to see how he recovers. If the MRI say that it's not a significant injury, obviously. And then from there, getting to a strengthening program. Remember, it's the left leg, it's the push leg, right? But it's the leg that you actually stress. It's the inside of the left leg that you stress when you are stretching toward the mount. So it's toward the home plate. So, definitely it's going to put a lot of stress. And we at the beginning need to get the inflammation down, get the strengthening. If it's a low-grade strain, you talk about, 15, to maybe 21 days. If it's really light, he may be ready for it, in 2 weeks. He may take a little bit longer. If it's a grade 2, that we always talk about, 6 to 10 weeks. If it's a grade 2 or grade 3, even more. But for me, when I look at this diagnosis on the news, obviously, there's other things that are happening, right? You have the, not just the tendon there. You have, some areas that you can have some hernia, some areas that you can have some pinching into the joint, but when they say that it's groin strain, we're talking most of the time about that adductor tendon in the inside of the thigh.
Are there things that could be done for an athlete or, even just someone like myself to avoid having this sort of injury?
Well, you always need to, to be sure that his leg is strong, right? Are strong. So you're talking about when you're doing this exercise, especially to the middle of the season, there's ways to evaluate how he's doing, when he's getting fatigued, when he's getting tired, when his arm slot change, things that the pitching coach and the athletic trainer staff, and the physical therapist can look and see, hey, you look that you are not stretching too much, you look that you are, changing how you're throwing. If there's anything going on. And you can do some strengthening testing on both legs to differentiate how it was at the beginning of the season, because they do, before spring training, they evaluate the strengthening and they monitor into the season. If there's a lot of weakness there, they may have to start doing more strengthening to compensate, getting a little bit of rest. That's why we have the all-star break, right? So they can get a little bit of break too. So there's things that can be done to see if there's any inclination of, hey, we're inclining that he's getting tired. Let's give you a little bit of break here and there.
As always, outstanding insight. You always have the answers to my questions. We'll do it again soon. Dr. Angel Velazquez from OrthoCincy. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, man.
Dr. Angel Velazquez, OrthoCincy. I say this every week. I've said it twice this week. The great thing about the folks at OrthoCincy, specialists in locations all across the tri-state. This includes walk-in orthopedic urgent care during the week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Edgewood and Anderson. It's easier and it's cheaper than going to an ER whenever you have an urgent orthopedic injury. Go to OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. This baseball season, catch every pitch at Long Neck Sports Grill. Each location has 4K TVs, so you never miss a game. The menu is so extensive, you can get something different every time you visit. I love the wings, and no place in Northern Kentucky has a better beer selection. Locations in Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood. And when the weather is warm, there's nothing better than a warm spring night on Long Neck's outdoor patio. Long Neck Sports Grill, this baseball season, stay late, come often.